Do you want to know where I think they came from? I'll just tell you. We were just talking about racist stereotypes in these effigies that they're still burning in Switzerland, or were a few years ago. Right now, I want to talk about this. Do you think that this is a racist stereotype? Do you think that this looks like a stereotype that would be known to artists of the 1800s, 1900s? What about this one? Extremely similar. This one looks newer, this one looks older, but they both look new to me. They both look fake to me. I don't think that ancient people had this idea or this specific portrayal of African men available within their culture, within their zeitgeist. That looks like a modern racist stereotype to me. So I'm going to ask everybody out there, what does that look like to you? I'm worried that this is getting too old, this piece of art, because this lady and this man on this Janiform vessel, they are leaving our zeitgeist now. They don't even look old to us anymore. They look unknown to us now. So if it gets far away enough, nobody's going to be able to spot these things. Look at this horse cheek piece, whatever they call it. It is so Martian, so inexplicable, so unusual in a way that you can't put words to, that it's gonna. I'm thinking that these things are gonna get harder and harder to spot as they drift under the sands of time. Art critic Max Friedlander famously said that forgeries have to be served hot, fresh out of the oven. And he said that there is a rule where it takes 40 years, approximately, for a forgery to look old. For Han van Meegeren's paintings to look like you can spot the aesthetic of the 30s in it, with those pallid eyes and the sickly looks on people's faces. It looks like a painting. It looks like a what was the guy's name? Who was the Dutch master? Vermeer. It looks like a fake Vermeer painted in the 1930s, according to Greg Ross here. And I agree. I think that there's a sweet spot that begins at 40 years. And then it's only going to last so long until people are no longer familiar with what a Cupid doll looks like, or what a comic book character looked like in the 1930s, for example. So here's how you spot a fake, or here's the process in evaluating one, beginning to evaluate one, according to controversial, to say the least, figure Tom Hoving of the Metropolitan Art Museum. He said that first you just blurt out your gut reaction. Just say the first words that come to mind, and hold on to them. So I want you to tell me what your gut reaction is looking at this thing. What are the first words that come out of your mouth when you look at this vessel? What do you say? And if now is an appropriate time to do it, I want to talk about these hypocephali as well. A hypocephalus is apparently a little pillow that goes under a mummy's head. So in Egyptian sarcophagi, they would find some of these finely embroidered linen hypocephali, or very crudely scratched out copper hypocephali. They look atrocious. They look nothing like the rest of Egyptian art, which is typically so formal and so beautiful. There's no savvy, there's no elegance, there's no literacy even. Flinders Petrie said he couldn't interpret these things. He said, this is nonsense, the hieroglyphs on here. And I had a really, really almost sick, very strong, immediate reaction to these from when I was first reading this Abydos publication. I've read most of Flinders Petrie's many publications, and this one stuck in my head when I read about this thing, probably almost a year ago now. But I've been waiting till I have somebody to reference, somebody else who says that some of these hypocephali were fakes. But I finally found a recent book about it, quite recent, all about hypocephaly. Nobody else bothered writing a monograph on it. But here comes one, and I Control F for the word forgery. I searched for fake, and I found one that the author said was a forgery, even though there's so many that are ugly, so many that are illiterate. And I was really disappointed. But maybe that also leaves more room for me to call out these fakes, or to at least bring it to the public attention and ask what people with more expertise than I think about the possibility of these being fakes. And we've got to evaluate them now, because the Abydos dig was from 1902, I think. So these are very quickly getting into the realm of stuff that is buried under the sands of time, and that are going to be aesthetics on top of aesthetics that are both the recent and the really old aesthetics are going to be foreign to all the new people who are going to be looking at these things. So I think that if they evade detection for long enough, they'll be good for good. They'll never be spotted. They'll never be widely known as fakes. And they can do serious harm to scholarship. Fake artifacts can do great harm to scholarship. So if there's a reason to care, other than the bad feeling that I get around these things, and the jolt of self-satisfaction that I feel when I spot a fake that Flinders Petrie failed to, apparently. So take a look at these. There's one very famous fake hypocephalus. In fact, it's probably going to be the only thing that shows up if you Google hypocephalus, is the Joseph Smith hypocephalus. Nobody cares because it's Mormonalia. It's Latter-day Saints controversy whether this one is fake. It is fake. There's a Wikipedia page on it. I don't think there's a Wikipedia page on the idea of hypocephaly or on the phenomenon. If you want to know where I think they came from, I'll just tell you. I think they came from these. One thing that you'll find many examples of in these digs, like in Abydos and other places, in Egypt, from Flinders Petrie or whoever, one really common artifact that you'll see is bronze mirrors. They've got a kind of lotus leaf looking stem, and then they've got a little round, it's a mirror. It's just a polished copper mirror with obviously it's got no decoration on it, because then it wouldn't be reflective. And these often come with a carrying case, a linen carrying case, to keep them from getting scratched up. So if you dig one of these out of the ground, imagine you're a sleazy archaeologist with no scruples, and you dig up a perfect plain piece of genuine Egyptian copper and a gorgeous piece of finely woven linen to match it, and they're both completely blank. There's nothing on them. What are they going to be worth? Today, I don't know, probably only a couple $1,000s at the most. I don't know, but I'm just saying, not worth much compared to items that have inscriptions, items that have depictions of gods and goddesses. Things with art and words, obviously they tell their own stories, and the story is what's the value in pieces of art, new or ancient. So story means money, meaning means value, and it's got to be so desperately tempting to somebody who loves Egyptian art, who is eager to try to make some imitations of Egyptian art just out of the appreciation of it, like I do. Like I make hieroglyphic stuff just for fun. It's to see that material that is just the perfect material that an artist, an actual Egyptian artist, would have been working with in those ancient days. It's got to be the most delicious challenge to try to step up to take that blank piece of copper, take that blank linen, and decide to write your own story on it, your own made up whatever. It's got to be fun to try to fool people. And you know what they do try to fool people with? Is they usually put a lot of penises on these things. I'm sure it's because they actually had, some of these fertility images on whatever examples they were working off of, which is probably a couple of real hypocephali, but or something similar anyway. Um, but they love the scatological and the erotic because they're subversive, I guess. People who want to make forgeries also want to make themselves laugh. They want to make people uncomfortable, and they want to test boundaries and break boundaries and be naughty. So there are a lot of fakes. If you look for archaeological phalli, for penises in ancient Egyptian art and so on, you'll see a lot of fakes in the stuff that they hid in the Secretum in the British Museum and in the back rooms of even my local museum over here. There's a scoofos with a woman urinating that's totally fake that you can see right on their website today. Yeah, well, I guess that's pretty much all I had to say about this. So I'll stop. I would love to hear any kind of feedback. I know everybody's gonna say you are wrong. I'm gonna get a lot of people saying that this is all in my imagination, but I hope that I hear from enough people that some of them will be open-minded enough to entertain what I'm suggesting here. And I want you to look at these pieces of art and tell me what's your gut reaction. What's the first word that comes to mind when you see some of these items? This is Jed Efray and my executive curator, Osiris, signing off. Thanks for watching. Like me and subscribe me. Just one last thing. I should hedge a little bit and say that I'm not certain that these 3 or 4 hypocephali from Abydos are fakes. I know one hypocephalus is fake, but of course I can't be certain about these. But they do look weird, and here's why. It's an unusual medium. These thin monoline incisions scratched into a plate of metal. It's an unusual medium. I don't know if there's any other examples of this. And it looks like somebody copied from examples from one medium to another medium, which is a very common way that forgeries can look wrong, is if you were looking at a painting and you made a relief or something like that. All right, that's all for now.